Whereas April may have had you feeling like you came through a massive storm, now May should have left you on the other side, feeling a lot more ease and hopefully being able to look back and reflect on the bigger changes that have happened for you, feeling some unloading, some cleansing, and hopefully getting some much needed rest. Hi, I'm Paige, and this is your May Energy Update. Before I go any further, I would like to ask you to please do like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. It really does make a difference. So going back to April, we had such big energy, and you can look at the April Energy Update here on YouTube. So much focus on, of course, the eclipses and huge changes that were going on, and it was just so much tumultuous push, pull, churning, internal churning and transformation, really deep internal shifts. There was also a focus on the evolution of the heart that I talked about quite a bit, that I think is really central to this bigger collective shift that we're in, and that's going to continue, I suspect, through this next, until this next eclipse cycle that we have in the fall. So that is a much bigger piece, and I think it also speaks to the deep internal processes that a lot of people have been in. And what I've been seeing with a lot of my clients is exactly that, this sort of moving through bigger processes and unloading. Unloading being an easy way of releasing. It's not, I mean, April was not easy, so it wasn't easy to get here, but now it's like, it's just coming out. Like now it's just, we kind of go to this place and whoo, there goes a bunch of stuff. It just unloads and releases. And we go somewhere else and the same thing happens. Everything's just ready to unload and release, which is really good. It moves us into a much nicer place. And you know, in April, we were exhausted. So many of us were exhausted, and now we're getting some time to rest. And you may actually find that you're getting some good deep rests now. You may actually be sleeping really well, certainly compared to how you were in April. But you know, April was a time when a lot of people were needing naps. They were needing extra rest, and were going, I don't ever nap. This is crazy. Why is this happening? Well, that's because our bodies, our light bodies, were changing dramatically. Our light bodies are shifting. When that happens, it's exhausting. I mean, when you do deep energy work, it can be exhausting. When you're taking energy in, taking in frequency and shifting frequency, it can be exhausting, and you can just need some extra rest because your body has to integrate those changes. So we need downtime, we need rest time. And I think a lot of what people were experiencing in April was exactly that. We were going through huge changes and we really needed that rest. So funny thing about May so far, even though we have had a lot more ease on the human level, the planet seems to be getting bombarded. There's been a lot of difficult weather around the planet, and in particular space weather, with this massive G5 solar storm that we just had. And of course, we've had this increased solar activity for quite some time now. That's intense for us as well. I don't know if the solar weather and the weather that we're seeing around us are connected. They certainly could be. But it's interesting to me to see how we're moving into a state of more ease. The planet is in a little bit more turmoil. And one thing that the guides have talked about quite a bit is that we're moving together. The energy of the planet and the energy of humanity have to move together in this bigger shift that we're in. So we kind of bounce off of each other. So we had our turmoil, now the planet's in its turmoil. We'll see what happens next, but hopefully we'll all move into a state of ease coming up. On the topic of frequencies and shift and change, let's talk about the Metatron frequencies that came in the April meditation. That's the April channeling and frequency transmission that I did on the Insight Timer. And anyone can attend those, so you're welcome to attend. They're free. All you have to do is go to the Insight Timer and make a free profile. And I'll put the link in the description below. If you do attend, you'll be part of that energy of receiving the energy. We have a lot of different beings that come in to work with us live in those. We have Metatron plus 7 archangels, and then we always have a number of other beings, often quite a lot of galactics. I think it's 100 something, 180 maybe last time. So it's a lot of support for the people who are there, and you receive these frequencies directly. It's very powerful, quite powerful in the moment. So every one of these meditations, and I do them monthly, has 3 frequencies that come in, and I channel those the same day. Those are all written in the description, and you'll find those meditations here on YouTube. I can't do anything about the ads. I apologize for that. I can't remove them. I would if I could. But if you sign up for my email list, you can get 3 channelings without ads, so ad-free listening. So you might want to do that. So let's talk about the frequencies from April, which were about the expansion of human consciousness and the revolving expression of thought and form. And the word specifically was revolving, not evolving. So implying that there's a process, right? A moving process, a dynamic process of a moving forward and back, right? Something that's circling but progressing as it does. And of course also the expansion of consciousness paired with that. So the specific frequencies that came in were these. The first one was about the disintegration of internal structures. And I think that we really saw a lot of that with the eclipse period and all of the change that we experienced in that period, particularly the internal change. And again, there was a lot of deep internal change for people in that eclipse period. Things that may have left them feeling like they're not the same person or not in the same place, or that they've elevated, that they're not concerned about the things they used to be concerned about, that they're not so much interested in maybe some of the things that they used to do or people that they used to spend time with. There's some shift in just not feeling they connect to those same things anymore, looking at things from a higher place, not getting pulled down into the fray. That's a shift in vibration. I have had people telling me that. So the disintegration of internal structures, that's big. And when your internal structures disintegrate, that frees you up. That allows you to move into new places. The second frequency that came in was about bands between dimensions, bridging thought and form. So this is expansion of consciousness, bands going into different dimensions, maybe new states that we haven't experienced, and from there, bridging thought and form. Thought and form is the basis of manifestation. Begins with thought and becomes form. And again, revolving cycle between thought and form. And the final frequency that came in was about merging, 2 separate things coming together as one. That also speaks to thought and form and manifestation. So we have there this expansion of consciousness and disintegration of structures moving us forward, paired with the ability to manifest something new. So that is where we have been. We are really still in that. There isn't a hard stop on these frequencies and energies and the shifts and change that we experience. I think it's important to remember that these aren't, 3-step processes. This is energy that's going to be moving with us, that we're going to be in. It'll continue to work on us. We'll still shift and change even as other things are coming in. So it isn't like one stops and the other starts. So that's what we're in addition to some other things, and we'll see what comes in this week. The next channeling is this Wednesday, May 15th, so do join me for that. Finally, the last thing that I have for you is the monthly message. I've been channeling these monthly messages for these updates for the last few months. These are coming from Galactics. So far, they've been from Galactics. That might change in the future. I believe the last month was an Andromedan. And this one is a new presence. It's not one that I had communicated with before. I wasn't able to identify a name for this one. So we're just going to call it the new galactic presence for May. And here is the message. I'm just going to read it for you. Your world is undergoing great change. Look within yourselves to understand the evolutionary process that humans are experiencing, for you are each in your own evolutionary experience as part of the whole. You cannot be removed from the whole. And of course, we've talked about this. We all move together. We aren't moving separately. We all have our own trajectories as part of our own evolutionary process, but humanity has to move together. You are one as you exist together on this planet. In time, you will see more clearly what is before you. You have not yet reached the apex. Your ascension to a new timeline is approaching. Prepare yourselves for the release of your collective history. I thought that this last part was really interesting. The release, well, both the timeline and the release of the collective history. The timeline would imply a path forward for humanity, a new path forward, and it's almost like jumping on the people mover at the airport. You know, being on a timeline. It's an energetic path that we kind of lock into or are pulled into. You could think of it as like a migratory path. You know, when you think of birds that migrate, they follow the same path. That's what this timeline would act like for us. So we're moving towards a new timeline. That sounds like a big jump for us. That's coming. That could be the apex of this shift that we're in. And part of that is going to be the release of our collective history. And this thing I thought was really fascinating because as it came in, there was an image. A lot of times there are images that go with the message that comes through. This particular image was one of sort of a falling away. It was easy. It was an easy release of the collective history and a necessary release. There was no moving forward without this release, but it won't be a painful or difficult one. What's interesting to me about this is that what was also coming up is this sense of how much we identify with our history in terms of how we define ourselves culturally, how we define ourselves as a society, how we understand ourselves, how we understand human nature, how we track our progress. There are so many different things, right, that we could look at thinking about how we understand ourselves through the lens of our history. And what would happen if we take that away, our sort of collective understandings of our history, if we remove that, what do we have then? And it feels to me like this could be the shift into more of a global consciousness, a human consciousness, rather than a cultural consciousness, moving away from the separateness that our history can create for ourselves, and more into a consciousness of oneness that we're more consciously aware of. That we create a new history for ourselves as one humanity. So that is it for the month of May. I hope you found that interesting or inspiring and whatever else. And please do put your comments below. I love to hear them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And again, if you did enjoy this content, please do like and subscribe. Join me on Wednesday for that Metatron channeling on the Insight Timer. The link will be in the description below. And sign up for the email list if you'd like to get those ad-free channeled transmissions. Have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next time.